Hey everybody, welcome to Bearcat Insider. We have been called back into the office of head Bearcat Todd Southard, except this time it is not to shut the school down. And so we are here to talk, I guess, really demographic survey. And for those that want to follow along at home, you can go to pilotpointisd.com, and from the drop-down menu at the top, you hit Our District.
Yep.
And then there's another little drop-down menu that says Our Future.
Our Future, yeah.
And you can have access verbatim to the report that we're going to be looking at and reading from. And so we encourage you to do that, and at least if you're not following along, just to be aware that that report is there. Mr. Southard, I don't think this is a cheap report.
No, it is not a cheap report at all.
So before we get into specifics, and I do have some specifics as I've been kind of studying it leading into this podcast, just in general, what are we looking at?
Well, one of the things that kind of take a step backwards is the last time we had a demographic study, that was done in 2015. And really what I felt like was we're getting to the point, I mean, we're seeing growth happening around here. We're seeing growth happen down south of us. And so felt like it was time that we needed to do that again. And we're probably, Travis, getting to a point where we probably need to do a demographic study maybe at least twice a year, maybe even once a year, just to stay on top of the numbers, because what the numbers do is they drive our decisions as far as what we want to do long-term in this district. And so what we did is we had Templeton Demographics come in and do their demographic study. And Templeton Demographics is, I'll be honest with you, I don't know of another demographic group than them. They are literally do the entire state. They do Waco's, they do Pflugerville's, they do Denton, Salina. I mean, they do it all over the state. And so the guys know what they're talking about, or everyone wouldn't use them if they didn't. So we had Templeton come in, and what they're showing us right now is that the growth is here and it starts next year, and that it is a slow, steady growth between 5 to 6% over the course of the next 10 years. As you go out into these studies and you start doing this, of course, the further away and further along you get in these studies, there's a little bit more of a crapshoot. It's hard to sit down and say what exactly is going to happen in 10 years. But I think at the very least it shows us, and this is really why I wanted to do it, what should we expect over the next course, about the next 3 years, really, as far as where we're going. And
well, I think I want to interrupt real quick. Didn't these guys do the last study?
Yes.
And we talked about in a previous podcast, everyone at the time that report came out said that it was wrong.
Correct.
And that it was a waste of money and those people were crazy.
Right.
That thing played out almost exactly.
It did. When you went back and look at the old one, what is showing, the old one showed it was flat. The old one showed it was flat until, I can't remember how long, it was 10 years, so it had been 2025. They're starting the growth up here about 3 years sooner than what they had in that previous one. Mm-hmm. But yes, when that was done, and I was one of those who said the same thing, was, man, there's no way. But they were right. And so what they're showing right now is that the growth is starting, and it's starting next year.
And that's something that I wanted to point out, because I believe when people look at this, it's going to get the same reaction. I think there are a lot of people out there going to claim that we're going to grow more than this report says.
And that is the consensus. And when you sit down and you talk to a lot of the people who are in the know, they look at this and go, you know what, this is going to happen. And it could. It just depends. But the consensus is that it will start really ramping up probably in about 3 years, more so than what Templeton is showing us.
Well, and those following at home, we're looking right now at the 10-year forecast by grade level.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's what it's on page 22.
Okay.
And so that's what we're talking about. And so, yeah, they're showing a steady 5 to 6, roughly, increase every year from now until 2030 to 2031. Now, what this does is it helps us understand that, number one, it's here. We've been talking about it for years, that the consistent growth is about to start. And it also allows us to start thinking about, hey, we need to get our future in line. We really need to start thinking about what we want this place to look like in the next 5, 10, 15 years. And so, like I said, Chance, we may come back here in about a year or two and do another one of these and see if these numbers get updated. My concern is, I talked to Britt Lusk the other day, and he called me up and said, "Hey, I've had 3 developers come in and meet with me today." And so, if anybody knows, it's him. And so I think he's got concerns with it as well. And I get it, and I see his point definitely. But at the very least, we know there's moves that need to be made.
And when you say moves that need to be made, what does that mean?
Well, we're talking about, we've already started the long-range facility planning committee. And so what we have right now is we've got a group of folks in town. They're made up of business leaders, parents, just a little bit of everybody, really. And right now, they're looking at the demographic study. We've hired VLK, that company that I had come in, look at our buildings or facilities, look and see exactly what things need to be done. We've got things like the middle school needs a new roof. It's aged out and it leaks like a sieve. We've got parts of the high school and their HVAC system that we haven't replaced yet that needs to go ahead and be done because half the time the AC in the high school doesn't work. That was one of the big problems that I had when I was there. So they're taking a look at literally every facility we have, including the transportation department, looking into it and making recommendations of, okay, this is not up to code. This is aged out. You've got 2 to 5 years left on this one before you have to make an adjustment. And so really what that long-range facility planning is going to do, committee is going to do, is they sit down and they basically make a list. Okay, here's our priorities from 1 to 100. And then we start talking about whether or not we're looking at going towards a bond or not. So they're the ones driving this. It's not me. It is them. And so, really I sit in there and answer questions as best they can. VLK says, "Hey guys, this is what we want you to do. We want you to come up with a 10-year plan as far as this district goes, and we'll go from there."
Now, when I was looking at it, one of the first things that I noticed is in the last 5 years we've had a decrease in enrollment, overall enrollment. And then we have a huge forecast for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It just so happens that we happen to have a dude that sells houses here with us. Is that due to a lack of new homes?
It's not a lack of new homes, and that's actually on the study, the rise. And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar enough with the page numbers,
no, you're good.
But it's in here. It is right there. Page number 8, for those of you following at home. We actually in 2020 had a larger increase of new home builds than prior years. What that is a decrease in inventory on properties currently that are available to purchase that people live in. The inventory is half of what it was last year.
Okay.
So what is happening is it's people aren't selling, and then the people that are coming in and wanting to buy don't have the opportunity to buy existing homes because they're not available. Right. And so the new home market, because the availability, because they are being built, is coming. But if the market ever goes back to normal and we get the normal inventory of homes available that we usually have, then the opportunities to grow even faster will happen, because I don't think the new home sales are going to slow down, but I think then the availability of homes that people live in.
Well, and the following pages after the one that you just referenced, it goes in depth about current subdivisions that are going in, which we have 3 of them going in: Yarborough Farms, and then Lakeview Estates, and then I can't remember the other one off the top of my head.
The Hills, is that the one?
I think so. It's off of whatever's going over to Jordan Creek.
Yes.
But there's close to 1,000 lots between all of them.
Right.
And so I think growth is not a fantasy anymore.
No. And, you look at that, I think they're about getting ready to go on that acreage right north of the high school, down at the very southern tip of our district, right there before you go down to like Mustang and keep on heading down 1385. There's a development there that's actually in our district that a lot of people don't realize. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is.
Venable Ranch.
That's down. This
is the one you're speaking of?
That's down 377.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think it's Moberly is the one that's out there on 1385.
They're cutting roads in that now.
Yes. And so that's going right now. Those kids are in our district. And so, yeah, I mean, it's, for years and years and years, people Pilot Point have heard the growth is coming, and I think now people are actually starting to physically see it.
Yeah.
And know, hey, it's here.
Well, and it should be terrifying, because as an ISD, I don't think we're in a position to be prepared for the growth.
No, I don't think we are right now. I think VLK is doing a pretty good job of try to get us there. One of the things that we've got to do as a district is, I'm looking at different things of how doing it. I've been pondering this a lot and trying to figure out exactly how I want to do this. But one of the things I don't want to do, there's a lot of areas and issues other than facilities that we need to address as a district. Okay, and so what I've been kicking around is the fact that I don't want to be in a situation to where I'm trying to fix those other issues, be it curriculum, be it HR, whatever it is, trying to fix all those at the same time and then dealing with the growth at the same time, because I think that's a killer. So we've been working kind of on a fast track plan here in central office, trying to get the things that we know we can fix fairly quickly fixed, so that way we can focus our time and our energies and resources on the growth itself, because when that hits, it will eat you up. I mean, that is all you will deal with.
Well, and you experienced it previously at a previous
Right.
stop at Anna,
Right.
Which has been a fast-growing community
Right.
for a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
And I would assume that it's hard to build the plane and fly it at the same time.
It is, and and when it hits you, my first year at Anna, we grew, I think it was 18%, and the second year we grew like 20%. And I mean, you're enrolling kids literally every day, and you're having to hire teachers at midterm, and you're having to go out and buy buses, and you're having to go out and get portable buildings, and so we're really trying to get ourselves in a situation to get everything as good as we can get it before this hits, so we can concentrate on dealing with that. I feel like we'd be juggling too many balls at once. Let's knock out what we can get done, then let's take care of the growth.
It looks like on the chart that we have, it actually shows Anna ISD, and they have had a 5-year enrollment change of between 500 and 1,500 students.
Yeah.
On this.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the word bond.
Right.
Now, obviously, we have to do something.
Right.
I still don't, so you can enlighten me while I'm sitting here. I don't understand to a whole, just 100% degree of what does a bond entail? What does that mean for me as a community member? I know what it could mean for me as a professional here in the ISD,
Right.
which would, an enhancement of my working conditions.
Right.
But as a community member, what does that mean? What can it be used for? I know there's things that it can't
Right.
be used for. So if you could just give me a little something so I can better understand.
So your taxes are built off of two different things, or two different categories, I guess is the best way I can describe it. You have M&O, which stands for maintenance and operation. And then you have INS, which stands for interest in sinking. Okay? M&O cannot pay for INS, and INS cannot pay for M&O to an extent. There's exceptions to that, but basically you have two wells you can draw money from, and that's it. Okay? M&O is just that, maintenance and operation. That's the cost to hire teachers. That's the cost for diesel. That's the cost for curriculum and instruction, keeping the lights on. Okay. Interest in sinking is essentially facilities, basically. Okay. And it's basically a mortgage. If you want to go out and do facility upgrades that are major, okay, and if you don't have the money, enough money in the bank, it's a loan. You go out, and the taxpayers have to pass it in order to do those upgrades and those changes.
You'd mentioned over here the high school needs a new roof and other upgrades as far as the school needs. Mm-hmm. Would those be simultaneous? Is that the way a bond would work, that you would have an INS and whatever the other acronym? M&O needs on the same bond, or is one?
No. Okay. So an M&O. Okay. So when you go out for bond, it is only the INS side that increases, not the M&O. Okay. So right now our total tax rate is $1.21. Okay. The M&O side is $1.01. The INS side is $1.20. If you went out for a bond, you would say, hey, we're going to increase the INS side by 25, 30 cents. I don't know. Just give you a number. Okay. And whatever money that would raise, I mean, there's a little formula out there, as there is with everything. But whatever that amount of money would raise, let's say it's $30 million, whatever. Then that's $30 million that you as a district would have in order to use to go towards to making those improvements. Now, once those bonds are paid off, the tax rate goes back down to whatever it was before. But that's the way school districts have to operate in order to be able to do those sorts of things. And when you look at our taxes as a whole, when you look at, we're at $1.21, but you look at some of the other areas around here, you'll look at, Sanger's at $1.37, Tioga's at $1.53, Aubrey at $1.59, Gainesville's at $1.27. The only one really in this area that's pretty close to us is Calsburg, and they're at $1.20. Again, we're at $1.21. But Prosper, Salina, Gunner, Denton, Valley View, all these guys are, in a lot of cases, much, much higher than what we are as far as taxes go.
So from my understanding, there is no way that we can pass a bond that will pay me $100,000.
That is correct, because that doesn't go off the M&O side.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one thing a lot of people start talking about, and they go, hey, why aren't we paying teachers more and using this bond money to go towards paying teachers? Well, because you can't. It can't go over to that side. That money can't go over.
Facilities
and land is basically what it boils down to. And again, who's to say we're going to go out for bond? I mean, we've got this long-range facility planning committee. They'll come in, they'll look at it, and they'll say, okay, nope, we don't want to go out for bond. Yep, we do. Okay, and then we'll go from there. The one thing that people got to understand, this is not Todd Southard's bond. This is not Todd Southard's district, and so they're the ones that drive that, and not me. Basically, the VLK guys come in, sit down, explain our situation, where we're at, and these committee members go, yep or no, and that's, and then we go from there.
Well, being the contrarian and always asking the hard questions for you, is there, I want things to be black and white.
Okay.
Is there a drop dead, when I think of a bond, and maybe I think of it wrong, I think of a need to have a bigger school for more kids, which kind of seems what this study is getting to. Is there a drop dead number, so to speak, that when we reach that number, we have a problem here? And then where does that jive on this estimation as far as our growth? Like, how many years down the road, if we don't do anything, do we have lots of portable buildings and big
about
problems?
6 or 7 is where we're at.
Okay.
So the way it forecasts out, and if you look on there on that report, it'll tell you based on our current facilities and based on their
again,
capacity.
That's page 22 for those.
There you go. And that basically will tell you, hey, you've maxed out here. Is what that will do. Okay.
So then, I believe in a previous podcast you said that if you start this process, if we start it today, we can't see the fruits of our labor for 3 years, I think, for a school and all of that.
Roughly 2 to 3 years. Again, it depends on what you build. Okay. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, we may not need a school right now. We may sit down and say, hey, we're going to pass a bond and we need to get land. Okay. Yeah. Or we may sit there and say, hey, let's pass a bond for just a little bit amount of money, make some upgrades. Now, again, I don't know what that would cost exactly, and it's like, buying a car, how many bells and whistles you want. But, hey, we want to make on that list, like I said, that the committee's coming up with, from 1 to 100. Let's say they want to do the first 20 of them. That costs, I don't know, $15 million or whatever. Go out and pass a bond, whatever the taxes raised to get $15 million. That's what we do. I don't know.
Because I guess what I don't want to do is, as a community and as a school district, play catch up. So if we waited until this chart, if it's exactly accurate, which if anyone disagrees with this study, most likely they're going to disagree and say that it's an understatement as opposed to an overestimation of population.
They are.
So if we wait 6 years according to this chart, when then you say we'll have problems and we really have to build a facility, and then it takes 3 years once you start the process to get it.
We're way behind.
We need to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying, Chance. We're trying to take a proactive stance. We're trying to get ourselves in the best possible position to deal with the growth. And one of the things that I learned when I was at Anna that's so crucial to all this is having the flexibility to do whatever you need. If you wait till the last minute, you'll get killed. If you go out too far in advance, you may get killed because you may blow all your money that you may need for something else. So you've got to be very careful, and it makes no sense, but when it comes to growth and managing this, you don't want to be 10 steps ahead. You want to be about 3. And the reason I say this is because we got into a situation there that we built Anna High School, and it doubled the square footage of the district like that. The one building did it, okay? Well, then all of a sudden, the Great Recession hits, everybody leaves their houses. Everybody starts getting foreclosed on. There's not near as much money coming in. The housing market stops completely. Okay, of course, we were using our forecasts in order to help pay for that. We said, okay, we'll have enough money when that hit. So the next thing we know is we're taking money out of the M&O side. Remember, I said there's some exceptions. We were taking money out of the M&O side to pay for the bond on that school. And so we got out way too far. We bit off a way bigger chunk than we needed to. So you really want to stay about 2 or 3 steps ahead versus, like I said, 10.
But even in the end, I'm not familiar with Anna, but wouldn't it have worked out? Because
yes.
It's always cheaper to build today than it is tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it eventually did. But we went for about 3 years there real tight.
Sure.
And, I mean, it was real tight. And so we didn't have any extra money to do anything. We were just worried about keeping the electricity onto the buildings. And so we want to stay out of that.
As someone that's lived here his whole life and drive around town, would it be safe to assume that we're behind now? Because we haven't built a new facility here since the high school.
Yeah, since 98.
Well, when did the intermediate?
Well, no, the intermediate. That's right. The intermediate was built in 03?
Maybe.
Is that right?
I was out. I know that.
So then, I guess the committee sounds to me like they have a lot to consider, because not only do we need to keep up and stay progressive, we also need to catch up, it sounds like.
We do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that he's hit on pretty hard was compliance in some areas that we have. And also the other part of the problem, too, is so many things that we have, like the HVAC units, some of them, and the roofs, and, those things are past their life cycles. And so, yeah, I mean, we definitely have catch-up to do. I mean, anybody who's going to walk into the middle school and look in some of those rooms and see the paint and see where the water damage is, what it's done to the walls and those sorts of things, I mean, you walk into that building and you go, man, there's got to be some work done here. And really, in all honesty, with the exception of the intermediate, there's some significant stuff that probably did nearly every building, and high school to an extent, but I would say definitely the elementary and middle school, there's some significant things that need to be happening to those buildings that haven't happened in a long time.
Well, and on the athletic side of things, we're extremely thankful for the turf field. It's awesome. We're extremely thankful for the track and how great it is. But gym-wise, we're a couple gyms short at least.
We're short, and then also, I've thought too about the restrooms at Massey. They need a lot of loving too.
Yeah, well, just additional heads. I mean, that's basically.
Yeah,
but athletically, the gyms is the glaring thing, and then everything else is just kind of sprucing it up a little bit. And we're thankful to the community for what they've done for us that, for sure.
Well, the thing is you want to sit down, and if you want growth is going to happen regardless of what we do. Okay, what you want is the right kind of growth. And the first thing people are going to do is they're going to drive by our facilities and start kind of looking at them. I mean, they are, and so I think it's incumbent upon us, in order to help have that positive growth continue going on, that we need to put our best foot forward.
Speaking from a school, what is the right kind of growth? I know I've never been involved with school government, but I've been on the city side and worked with them for most of my adult life. It seems like from a school perspective, you would want more commercial growth. It's tax dollars without kids.
That's right. It's money that doesn't come with any expenses.
Yes.
You're right, and that is a huge thing that helps. I know that we had a few things open up there in Anna that really helped us tremendously. When they put in a Walmart there, that was huge.
The frustrating thing from a city side is it's a chicken and the egg. The commercial won't come without the residential and its rooftops.
Yeah.
What was the most shocking number or surprising number on this whole study that you saw?
I honestly thought that what he would come in was, over the course of 10 years, I really thought you'd see about a 4%, a 5%, a 7%, a 9%, then like a 15%. It's really kind of what I thought. I thought you'd see just a huge jump there in about year 4, 5-ish, and really see it take off. And I was really kind of surprised that, as he has it down here, it's kind of slow and steady throughout the 10 years.
Well, a 5% growth. Well, here we go with me trying to do math on the fly. 5 goes into 70 14 times, so we'll double in 14 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. You're the math guy.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's the way figure interest.
Well, I mean, you sit down and you look at it. He's got down here essentially what we'll do is right now we're roughly at 1,350, okay, as far as number of kids. He's got down at 2030, 2031, 10 years from now. He's got it at an additional 1,000 kids is what he's got. So, yeah, I would say you're right. You're 13, 14, if this holds true, yes.
Yeah.
We have not seen the huge drop in enrollment that a lot of different school districts have. We actually had, we made the decision that we were going to go ahead and start back at school on time. And we actually had a number of kids transfer kids come in, and parents say, we want them starting school, we want them in school and starting on time. And we actually had a little bump there as far as number of kids coming in. So we're fortunate that way. We haven't been affected by the pandemic nearly like other districts have.
What's the timeline now? There's a committee, you said, meeting and discussing this
Right.
and everything else. When do they bring their results back to you?
They will go, there's about 2 or 3 more meetings, and then I think it's at the March board meeting, and I may be lying, it may be the April board meeting. But essentially what they're going to do is they are going to present their recommendations to the board, okay? They'll tell the board what they feel like needs to be fixed. They'll have an idea of what it's going to cost, and then they will make the recommendation of say, hey, we feel like there needs to be a bond, or they say, we're just going to chug along here, whatever. The board can accept that. The board can go along and say, hey, yeah, we do want to do a bond, or no, we don't. That'll be on the board there. And the board is actually the one who will call for the bond. Once the board does that, if they do that, once that happens, is we will form a bonding committee. And I've already kind of got that set up just in case we have that, we make that decision. The bonding committee will then sit down and look at the results from the long-term facility planning committee. And basically from that list, like I said, 1 through 100, what is the most important things, they will choose off of that list what they feel like needs to be on the bond, what they feel like the community would accept and would try to pass, and go from there. And then we're looking at, if we do go towards a bond, you're looking at doing that in November.
I was thinking May, as you were saying all that.
Well, we felt like one of the things that we didn't want to do, Chance, is we didn't want to rush through this. And we wanted to take our time.
No, I meant May of next year. Is what I was
May
thinking.
of next year?
Yeah.
No. It'll be November of this year is what we're looking at if we do it. We wanted to take our time. And again, they may come back and say no. They may say, forget it, don't want to do it, don't want to mess with it. But I felt like that we need to, at the very least, take a really good, hard look at it.
Have the conversation.
Have the conversation. It never hurts to talk. And so we needed to sit down and have that conversation, let everybody kind of see, because, part of the problem that you have is with some folks is they just simply don't know because they've not been involved with the district in a long time, or just they don't walk the hallways of the elementary school and high school like we do every day, and they don't see the leaks and they don't see the frustrations with the teachers about the air conditioner all of a sudden going off in their classrooms and having to move their kids and all that mess that goes along with that. So we just wanted to take some time, have the conversations, and go from there.
Now, you mentioned Britt Lusk earlier, and he's
Yes.
the city manager
Correct.
of Pilot Point. I personally think he's done a fantastic job
Britt's
since
a good guy.
he's come on board.
Yep.
In this whole process, how do the district and the city work together?
Well, one of the really good things about Britt was, when I got this position, he called me up, and it basically one of the first things out of his mouth was, hey, Todd, we want to make sure we're having a good working relationship with y'all, and vice versa. And I said, Britt, I absolutely agree. And so, I meet with Britt fairly regularly. Matter of fact, I got a meeting with him on Thursday of this week to sit down and talk with him about some new developments that may be coming in. I've got a couple folks from the city. I've got the mayor on this long-term facility planning committee because they have some background knowledge that some of the others don't have. And so Britt and I have worked pretty closely together with this. And so one of the things that I've been told, and I don't doubt that it's true, that it's incredibly important for the benefit of both the school district and the city, that the school and the city, the city manager and the superintendent have a really good working relationship. So Britt and I have really done that, and I like Britt a lot. And so we stay in touch very regularly.
Well, very good. Contrarian? Are we done being a contrarian?
I thought I did pretty well.
He was actually very positive.
That's right.
Very informative.
That's right. Well, we're in my wheelhouse. We're in growth and something I know for a change instead of all these school acronyms that I don't know what you guys are. Like, what was the one? Crayon or?
Crayon?
No, there was
we use
something.
those.
No, Play-Doh. Play-Doh.
Play-Doh.
Play-Doh, and I couldn't
Play-Doh.
figure out what you guys were even talking about.
Now, this has been it's been an interesting process. I think it's been an eye-opening process for lots of folks. You know, going down and really sitting down and looking at where we are as a district right now, and so, you know, hopefully something good will turn out of it.
I think the biggest thing right now is it going to be Chance Kirby High School?
No. That's not even.
I mean,
If you made a list of 100 people in the community that it was deserving, I wouldn't even be 101.
I think you're selling yourself short.
Joyce would be my first pick.
So would it be the Chance Kirby biology wing?
No, boy, Miss Terry would show up and throw a fit about that.
Okay. Chance Kirby Gymnasium?
I tell you what, if y'all make restroom improvements at Massey, maybe one of the stalls can have my name on it. Maybe.
In Sharpie.
Maybe. Exactly, on the inside.
All right. We digress.
Yes.
Mr. Southard, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys,
I
very
appreciate
much.
you. And people need to understand how important this study is.
Absolutely.
It's not just sheets of paper with numbers. If you
Right.
actually look at it and you read the fine print and you read what the different boxes mean and you read the legends to all the maps, you'll see one thing is that growth is coming.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's already here.
Yep.
It's already been prepared. It's already plotted. It's waiting for bulldozers and builders and all that. It's coming.
Yeah.
And before we know it, I was actually driving down 455 towards 1385. I think it was yesterday with Michael, and I said, Michael, there's a good chance, but in 15 years when you come back home to visit me and your mother, you're going to look out on either side of this road, and it's going to be houses, and you're going to tell your kids, well, when I was growing up, these were filled with, and it's inevitable. And,
it is absolutely inevitable, and we've got to really start thinking about what we're going to do. And if anybody has any questions about, again, they can find this study on our website. If anybody has any questions at all.
I hope this isn't our only meeting on this, and I want to continue to have podcasts on the progression of that group that's
On the facility planning
all
committee?
of it. I think this is very interesting stuff that people out there want to know. And I did want to point out one thing that I know lots of people are looking at this and wondering. In 2030/31, if this plays out exactly like it is, and if my memory serves right, that keeps us at about 4A, I think, if the current numbers.
The current that's
the
the
current
problem.
numbers.
they shift those numbers
Yes, they
around
do.
all the time.
But I know someone out there listening to this is, well, where are we going to be in classification?
Yeah.
So it's got to be about 4A.
Well, and for most of the schools that are in our athletic districts, a couple of them are going to get left behind. But I was talking to Jeremy Thompson at the basketball game the other night, and boy, is Ponder looking at growth just out the ears.
And Crum is too. That's another one that's about to explode, is Crum.
And so everybody's facing the same problems because the Texas economy is built for growth.
Yeah.
And it's here. But as always, we thank you for letting us in your office, and we thank our sponsors, Pellsville Printing, Southern Junkies, Pilot Point Post Signal, Dana Walker with Germania Insurance, Ashley Marsh Photography, and last but not least, Chandler Cabinets. Without the support of these local businesses, we wouldn't be able to bring you this enlightening information from Todd Southard's office. And as always, go Bearcats.
Ho, ho, ho!